Hi, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending time with me. I'm so far behind on my own goals, it just ain't funny. But elections, political dramas, etc., had me just a little distracted. And add to that, cold and foul weather, and all one wants to do is stay in bed and stare at the walls or sleep. As far as the Kohberger case is concerned, none of it makes sense. It does not matter what anybody says. My gut tells me something different. I keep going back to the Linda Lane footage, and the thing is that shortly after and shortly before the murders allegedly took place, there were other vehicles moving about. For instance, there is a truck, or what looks like a truck, pulling out of the apartment's parking lot more or less at the time the supposed Elantra drives away at approximately 4:20 a.m. Has that vehicle been looked at? Does law enforcement know who drove the vehicle? Has that person been cleared? His lawyer, now resigning from the public defender's office, raises even more questions. I do not fully swallow the distribution and allocation of funds excuse. Ann Taylor still needs to be paid, whether she is a public defender or in private practice. I'm wondering whether her resignation has something to do with her wanting to be able to choose her own team, maybe even remove herself from certain pressures. Has anyone heard anything about a change of venue? I mean, I don't watch or listen to every darn hearing because there are so many. One will go absolutely nuts and you will end up not doing anything else. But I do not think Kohberger has any chance of a fair trial in Moscow, Idaho, at all. And, of course, in my opinion. I wish I could explain the DNA on the sheath because as far as I'm concerned, that is the only thing standing between Bryan and an innocent verdict. Okay, so the next case, Sebastian Rogers, what is there to say other than the fact that his father, Seth, has his YouTube channel up and running again? There is no new news. From Seth's live, it appears that he's still adamant that he is looking for his son and not his son's body. This appears to be contradictory to what law enforcement is implying. From their actions, it appears law enforcement is investigating a crime and no longer a runaway scenario. And it appears that if they go out there again, it will be for a recovery. As the time passes, the questions surrounding a lack of forensic investigation are becoming more prevalent. Law enforcement also does not seem to want to answer questions as to why the house and vehicles were not treated with luminol. Again, one has to question whether everything has been done which should and could have been done. Then there is the Suzanne Morphew case, and I have been meaning to talk about this for quite a while now. As some of you may know, this was the case which pushed me into talking about true crime in the first place because I got so angry at so many of the YouTubers talking about the case that I had to find a way to respond to get rid of my frustrations. For those of you who may not know, Suzanne Morphew was a 49-year-old woman who disappeared on Mother's Day 2020. Her husband Barry was charged with her murder, but the case was dismissed without prejudice in April 2022. Then in September 2023, while authorities were searching for another missing woman, Edna Quintana, Suzanne's remains were found about 40 miles from where she went missing. Suzanne's death has since been ruled a homicide, and although the exact cause of death is undetermined, there was the presence of the chemicals found in a tranquilizer dart. And remember, a cap from a tranquilizer dart was indeed found in the washer-dryer, and a broken tranquilizer gun was found in the residence. However, it is possible that a person can be stabbed with a dart. So why has Barry not been charged with the murder of his wife now that her body or parts thereof had been recovered and the ingredients from a tranquilizer dart had indeed been found? Well, there are many issues relating to the case, not least the fact that Linda Stanley, the DA, has now been charged with misconduct in her handling of the Morphew case, and her charges are indeed serious. And although I have not seen any results yet, the nature of her charges could very well lead to disbarment or suspension. Charges against Linda Stanley concerns all the pre-trial publicity and interviews she engaged in. Remember, there are rules, and those rules state that the prosecution cannot create prejudice or poison the jury pool. She's also been charged with prosecutorial misconduct for not handing over evidence to the defense as requested. And then she had the gall to have the judge investigated after he sanctioned them. So needless to say, Linda Stanley or no Linda Stanley, the prosecution and DA's office will be under severe scrutiny should they bring new charges. The other issue is that Suzanne's remains were found 40 miles or 65 kilometers south of Salida County in Squash County. Now remember, Barry Morphew's vehicle and movements the day before and the day of Suzanne's disappearance was tracked down to the finest detail, from him dropping trash from his truck to how long he spent in a hotel room, etc. From the day of Suzanne's disappearance to the day Barry was charged, he was also under almost round-the-clock surveillance, and unfortunately, there is absolutely no evidence, no proof of him being anywhere south of Maysville where they lived, and certainly not 45 miles south. Then there are the other issues, like the DNA of an unknown sex offender found in her vehicle. Another major factor is that Suzanne was not the only woman or person to disappear in the area and whose remains were either found in the same area or not at all. What happened to Edna Quintana, who disappeared in the area? Crystal Risinger, an unknown male whose remains were found close to Suzanne's, and yet another set of remains found a distance away, but still in Squash County on July 26, 2023. Authorities are quiet and not saying whether any of these disappearances or deaths can be related. So for us as the public to make wild accusations and point fingers yet again at Barry without more knowledge and insight would be highly irresponsible and could likely be the cause why there may never be any justice for Suzanne. I may be very, very wrong, so wrong, but why make these videos if you can't give your opinion? And in my opinion, Barry did not do it. I think Suzanne had someone, the wrong someone, over while Barry was away, or maybe unknowingly opened the door to the wrong person. A struggle ensued. He grabbed the dart and stabbed her with it. Once she was passed out, he loaded her in his vehicle and drove off. My second theory is that Barry is covering for someone. We know that Suzanne and her one daughter did not have a good relationship, It is also obvious that the daughters are Team Barry all the way. No one is willing to say where the daughters were from, say, early morning to midday. Was there a fight and Suzanne got stabbed with the dart? The ingredient found in Suzanne's remains make Barry look guilty. I admit that. But unfortunately, it is still not proof that he committed the crime, as I have just demonstrated. Anyway, guys, there are many other current cases, but these are the three I'm most interested in, along with the Summer Wells and Monkey Vaughan case. And unfortunately, there isn't much movement in any of these cases at the moment. So I think as from next week, we'll go back to our original schedule of crimes in the royal family or old unsolved crimes, unless, of course, anything happens in any of these 5 cases, which will create a bit of movement and give us a talking point or two. So until then, please take good care of yourselves and each other until we meet again on the next one. Bye.